A fairy tale for young and old. The King's New Sky Robe. Earth-life similarities based on original research, physics, observations, and the news are presented for education and entertainment only. Dedicated to Greta Thunberg. The little prince dreamed of great fame by creating beauty around the world, becoming greater than his father, the king, and greater than his royal ancestors. When the little prince grew up and became king, his dreams reached to the sky above the Americas. Indeed, he wanted to create a project encompassing the entire earth and augment his kingdom beyond measure. The king gathered the royal fairy, a physicist, and a technician to come up with an idea that would fulfill his dream. They all discussed possibilities surpassing Tesla's now known idea of using the sky as night light. They suggested making the sky shiny, like the crown of the king. Yet how? The king liked the idea. It would be the greatest project ever undertaken on Earth, by him, the king. Finally, Fairy and the physicist presented their amazing formula, micro gold dust, to the technician, who admired their work. These experts then pondered day and night how this formula could make the sky shiny, not using tons of gold. Their solution was to micro-powder a shiny silver-gray substance, mu'ini mula, and distribute it daily around the world with the royal flying dragons, until it formed a shiny lid. The king was so pleased that he rewarded his subordinates generously for their idea. The project began in 1697, when the royal dragons went to work to distribute tons of silver-gray mu'ini mula every day, with the wind helping to distribute it. The dust was everywhere. Miracles appeared in the sky. People wondered about rainbow blotches never seen before, and the Earth's atmosphere looked shiny when the royal fairy viewed Earth from the moon. The king gave mu'ini mula factories yearly contracts to produce and distribute thousands of more tons of mu'ini mula, his dream dust. Year after year, the mu'ini mula lid grew denser. The deeply blue sky turned baby blue and white, disguising birds in flight and most stars at night. Children born after 1697 never saw the truly blue sky and the myriad of stars. There were other changes, too. Since the mu'ini mula lid caused a red shift in the sun's mold-controlling UV rays, black mold took over trees and grasses. More and more trees began to die or snap from the overwhelming mold attacks. And in every breath were toxic mold spores and dream dust. And more, mu'ini mula's dense lid trapped heat and cold, puzzling people. The warmth-holding ocean waters caused polar ice to melt, and the warm air over the oceans started to rise. Mu'ini mula stayed cold, so that the cooler lid-touching air began to sink. The rising and sinking air masses swirled around each other and created mighty storms. Mu'ini mula, once used in deodorant for its drying properties, now dried the air so that there were wide areas of drought and fires, causing the lack of food and water for people and animals. Year after year, there was no clockwork wind reversal, called monsoon, but devastating fires and famine, and the heat got more intense. Yet, when the dehydrating mu'ini mula could not hold more moisture, it prematurely monsooned down the floods it held over already moist areas, causing violent deluges in the wrong places as never experienced before. The rising moon was red from the lid's red shift. The king and his experts admired it. Yet, following laws of physics, the sun's cooling UV rays did not reach the earth any longer, but were red-shifted instead. People and trees felt microwaved in nature, and animals became dehydrated. At sunset, the sky was also red in the east, never seen before. A bright star in the sky was but a dragon egg, since Mu'ini Mula veiled Abraham's magnificent stars. Mu'ini Mula, suspect of brain damage, showed up in food and water. Yet the king saw no harm and found the Mu'ini Mula idea brilliant, with the council being on his side. They made good moolah on the project and did not mention the devastating results. Dense volcanic ash flakes played a pivotal role in creating the ice ages by shading the earth. Yet Mu'ini Mula was not a shade, but a microscopic red-shifting filter for the cooling sun rays. The Mu'ini Mula, delivered by the dragons, stayed cool itself, but reflected rising heat back to Earth. The heat could no longer escape into space. Where heat was reflected by the Mu'ini Mula lid, it rose temperatures on Earth, melted ancient permafrost, and buildings sank. When Mu'ini Mula stopped the warm, rising clouds, the clouds pushed sideways along the dense lid, forming anvil clouds, forcefully displacing the lid-touching cold air, if it was not already falling. The displaced cold air sank rapidly, and the warm air above the oceans rose, both causing mightier and mightier hurricanes and typhoons as never before. Hot and cold began to kill Earth life, not made for the excessive heat, cold, flooding, and hurried storms. Nevertheless, the dragons continued to distribute more Mu'ini Mula, following orders, just making a living. Would anyone admit the shocking world climate change and dare to tell the king to stop his dream went bad dust? There was none. Nobody dared. All who knew the focal cause of the devastating earth changes made too much moolah from the project. Why change that? The earth would survive for their lifetime. And later, they would not be around. Yet the earth was rapidly dying. Moolah was the council's wish-fulfilling god, and their law was, don't be caught. One day, the king's daughter Tintin, age 9, was curious what the experts discussed without her father's presence. She heard about the dangers they knew of, and she told the king, "Dad, your dream dust is killing all life on Earth. It is stealing my dreams of a future. We are facing a mass extinction, and all your experts talk about is moolah and fairy tales of eternal economic growth benefiting their moolah pyramid system. How dare they? Dad, please take off your sky robe." The king was astonished. Yet he also had seen changes and thought of his daughter's future. For lack of UV-made plant essence, starving tree roots snapped and strong trees fell. Soon there would be no more oxygen-giving trees. Entire cities would sink under the water of the melting polar ice, and fires would char the green land. Glaciers, once sources of water for life, would be dry. And who would remember the old, deeply blue ozone-rich sky and the myriad of stars with the twinkling Milky Way? The king consulted the fairy. She admitted that the king's dream dust caused the extremes, yet also future manufacture, CO2, deforestation, methane gas, and diet would need to be addressed to keep the sky deeply blue. Oh, what did he do? The king felt so bad. He realized that his dream dust was made by Mula and not by the Creator. With his dream dust, he had ruined the future of his little daughter. And what heritage would he leave for all future life? No, no, no! He had to halt the dust. Upon little Tintin's request, the king stopped the Muini Mula project through a royal executive order from one day to the next. This came just in time. In the dryness, vast forests had been destroyed. The Amazon, the largest oxygen producer for all breathing life, went partly up in flames and was dying at 50% overall. It will never grow back when lost, like the old Sahara forest, now a desert. The Amazon came from a different era on Earth and held its ancient biodiversity only through its large scale. With the project halted by the smiling king, the solar wind was adamant in blowing much of the lingering Muini Mula dust away, leaving mere tachyons in the universe. The spiders came to the rescue on the ground. They caught the silver-gray dust in their webs. The king and Tintin cheered, "We did it!" The deeply blue sky reappeared, breath-giving. People planted trees and built brick houses, and more stars made their re-debut. Respected nature recreated harmony all around. Tintin, the king's little daughter, was excited and kissed her dad for having saved life on Earth. What adults do not dare to say, for their many econocentric reasons, a child may point out. Wherever such dream turns bad, you can be this child. For a little child shall lead them, and God will be their God, for the old order of Mula has passed away. Adapted from Isaiah 11:5 and Revelation 21:3 and 4.